Your Kentucky Lawn. On this episode, we're going to talk about soil testing and choosing fertilizers for your cool season lawn.
4600, 1919, 18918. There are so many different fertilizers out there, as well as signs telling you now is the best time to fertilize your lawn. It can get a little confusing. Today we're going to go through some of the steps that are important for getting ready to fertilize your lawn. The first and most important thing you should do before fertilizing your lawn is figure out what it needs. Soil testing is a simple and inexpensive way to determine whether the soil has sufficient amounts of nutrients and whether the pH of the soil is adequate. Stop by your county extension office to get information on soil testing, as well as small bags to place the soil.
To take a soil test, get a clean bucket and get either a soil probe, a garden trowel, or a shovel. Walk in a zigzagging pattern across the lawn to get a good representative sample of the yard. Take samples to a depth of about 4 inches and remove the vegetation from the top. Place the samples in the bucket and mix the soil well before placing into the soil testing bag. Label the bag with specific information, such as backyard, so you know where the soil was taken from.
Sample flower beds, vegetable gardens, or areas with known soil variations separately from the lawn soil test. And take your soil test samples about every 3 to 4 years to make sure that fertility is being maintained.
The soil test report will give you recommendations for amounts of certain nutrients or lime you should apply to keep the fertility level adequate. Soil testing labs do not test for nitrogen. However, there will be a nitrogen recommendation based on the type of grass you are growing. Recommendations are based on what the plants need for proper growth. Each nutrient has a specific role in the plant, and if any one of them is lacking, the plant can struggle.
The amount of fertilizer you apply and the analysis of the fertilizer you purchase should be based on your soil test recommendations. Depending on how much and what kind of fertilizers you've used in the past, you may only need to apply nitrogen to keep your plants healthy. Nutrients such as phosphorus and potassium are usually adequate in most Kentucky soils, and applying more may actually do damage to the plants and the environment over time. Nitrogen does not stay in the soil, so if it is not quickly taken up by the plant, it can leach through the soil.
If words like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium sound really confusing, you really only need to know a couple of things to figure it all out. The 3 numbers on the bag of fertilizer represent nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, in that order. The numbers are just percentages of what is in the bag, so a 10-10-10 fertilizer, for example, would contain 10% nitrogen, 10% phosphorus, and 10% potassium.
The frequency of how often you should fertilize your lawn is dictated by the specific desires for how the lawn should look and by how much traffic you have in your yard.
A low-maintenance cool season lawn, such as Kentucky bluegrass or tall fescue, should only be fertilized 1 time each year with 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. This type of lawn certainly won't be perfect, but is suitable for large church or industrial lawns. A medium maintenance cool season lawn describes 90% of the lawns in Kentucky. This lawn will have good color, deep roots, won't need frequent mowing, and will survive summer stresses quite well. This level of maintenance is the best mix between an acceptable appearance and being environmentally friendly. The high or very high levels of maintenance are reserved for areas that receive a high amount of traffic, like athletic fields, and need extra fertilizer to help the plants recover. 4 fertilizer applications per year should only be for highly visible situations, such as the governor's mansion. Lawns receiving this much fertilizer should likely have an irrigation system and a professional maintaining them.
Looking for the ultimate low-maintenance lawn? Why not think about white clover? I've got 2 identical lawn situations here in front of me. On one side, white clover was seeded, on the other side it was not. You can notice the color difference between these 2 plots. White clover fixes its own nitrogen, makes its own nitrogen, and then will supply it to the surrounding plants around it, giving the lawn a nice green color. On the other side, because there was no fertilizer applied, you can notice that it's a thin stand and there's a lot of weeds growing in it. A good stand of white clover will supply about 2 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per year, and that's my recommendation for most home lawns across Kentucky. From that last table, you should have noticed that fertilizer applications should be made during the fall in Kentucky. Research has shown that fall nitrogen applications lead to healthier plants, better winter color, less mowing in the spring, and less disease in the summer. Stay away from spring and summer nitrogen applications, as they can lead to excessive top growth and lots of mowing, increased weed pressure, reduced drought tolerance, and increased disease pressure. only consider spring fertilizing if you weren't able to fertilize in the fall. So even though you see signs around the town telling you now is the best time to fertilize your lawn, don't believe them. Your lawn will thank you for fertilizing in the fall. The last thing we need to discuss are fertilizer sources. Most garden centers and big box stores will carry many different brands and analyses of lawn fertilizers. You can also buy fertilizers that can be used on a lawn at farm stores.
There are several differences between specialty turf fertilizers and farm fertilizers. The turf fertilizers are usually in a ratio that is good for lawns, have a uniform and small particle size, low burn potential, and often have application information printed on the bag. Farm fertilizers, however, are 3 to 5 times cheaper than turf fertilizers. The farm fertilizers work very well on lawns, but because they often have high burn potential, great care should be taken when calculating rates and making applications to ensure the turf is not burned. Applications of these products during the heat of the day should also be avoided. With most fertilizers, you'll want to water them in for a few minutes after applying. There are also fertilizers that are considered slow release. Check out the UK turf video on organic fertilizers to learn more about these.
In summary, knowing what your lawn needs, the differences between fertilizers, and when to apply fertilizer to a lawn in Kentucky will help ensure you are fertilizing correctly. Using the proper amount of fertilizer and fertilizing in the fall can save you money and is gentle on the environment. I'm Greg Munshaw, and this is Your Kentucky Lawn.